Okay, so I think that we have a lot of our wonderful semifinalists here already. So I don't want to delay the start of this session because it's a key session. I'm sure that all of you are looking forward to start with the workshop one and the tech team. So yes, a few things before we started. So welcome everyone once again from the Create Apps Championship team. My name is Carmen Mateos. So I welcome you all to join today workshop one. So the first few announcements that I wanted to do first, we share via email a WhatsApp group. So please also, my colleague Marian will be sharing here on the chat. So for those who didn't join the WhatsApp group yet, please join because it will be a very agile and fast way of communicate among each other. So the idea is that we can quickly share with you updates, announcement, and also for the Tech Accelerator team to communicate with you. So please join the WhatsApp group if you have not done yet. We only shared the link like an hour ago, so we will be sharing here on the chat. And the second thing is that we also have a new email account for the Create Apps Championship. So please, if you have any question, any topic to discuss, or anything that you want to share with us in general regarding the competition, please write to Create Apps at Dubai Chamber. So also is here on the chat. So please keep this email close to you because the previous one we are in transitioning process, so we will stop to using. So please use this one for general comments, questions regarding the championship itself. If you have any question regarding the Tech Accelerator submission or anything related to the accelerator itself, you can connect via Accelerator email that also Marian will share here on the chat. So general questions to the Create Apps, a specific question regarding tech to the Accelerator email. Okay, so I don't want to delay the start of the session. So Fawaz is here. I think that also he's with Suresh in this session. So please, I will leave you with him. Pay attention and enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmen and the team. Wonderful again. Great greetings for everyone. Hola, everyone. Amazing to see you back on semifinals and the first session we're gonna kick off. And first of all, thank you. Most of you had submitted the first week review, and I think some of you are yet to be done. Let's take the last week as the debut week, week 0. But from this week, gonna have a lot of fun in developing your idea. Great. All right, let's start. And I have my co-facilitator today with Suresh Michael, who's going to be an expert, also helping you with publishing guidelines and also MVP to get a little more towards your dream reality of your app being seen on the App Store or Play Store to be a reality. Let's move. Let's go ahead and let's set up a very quick housing rules. Keep your mic muted, but doesn't mean that you can't ask question. Raise your hands, and this don't consider as just a webinar. Interact. The Q&A can begin when you have a concern because we're going to discuss something very technical here and there. So if you have some reflection that you want to ask question, everybody can learn. Raise your hands and we'll ask questions, right? And specifically when we are talking about specific technical stuff, please, and make it personal to your team. And it should just reflect in your idea to become a reality. Chat is open. And as I said, Q&A is at the end, but please feel free if you have a technical question to shoot it at that point before we move on to the other sections of it. Yes, let's keep moving. And definitely respect the space. And most importantly, most of you would have, in case if you have joined in your phones, please switch back to your laptop or working resources. And please make sure that you do have your keep your phone, because sometimes you might do a QR code, and also to have little bit of thoughts engaged. Let this be a common rule for the next few workshops we're going to have, and especially a mentoring and coaching call as well. Have join yourself from laptop or the computer which you develop your systems from. And yes, rename your display name using your name and the app name, so that we really, really refer when we really want to refer you, right? And yes, amazing. Thank you, Mike. I can see some heads up. Thank you. Let's move. Right. Wonderful. So we've passed week 0 and debut beginning of week 1. And I call this a very important milestone to set the emotion, sentiment of go-getter attitude. We can have challenges, we can have technical milestone issues. We're going to have an entrepreneurial go-getter attitude to make sure nothing stops us getting us closer to our dream. So right now you are in workshop. We will be unlocking a one more milestone. And tomorrow and day after is very important. We could see some of you are booked your mentoring sessions. Please log into your system. You will see Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Only for this week, even if you want to put your first call on Thursdays, if you don't feel time slots, if others has booked it, book it for Thursday. But we'll have to make sure your one-to-one call happens this week, and we are aligned and we start developing. So please, humble reminder on your journey to book your milestones, and then we go on the week, the upcoming weeks, and to have your text accelerator to be published to your app. So today is going to be a very quick reality check to understand where you are, what you have submitted, and then defining a realistic MVP, and also the user story, a little bit of your UX, UI. All this is constrained about making your app to be publishable, which means Google or Apple Store should approve it. Right? Sometimes we know the logic, so you as an entrepreneur, I love my app. It's everything is right. Why is Google rejecting it? That's what we're going to look at it, right? And we do have a session for Thursday, which we'll talk about. Quick check-in. And we had a deadline. And since some of you had some challenges in logging into the platform and all of it, we made sure as a Creative Tech Accelerator team, extend the deadlines until today. And as you said, it's a debut week, but most of you had submitted, and I would like the rest of you also submitted. So you have thought about your MVP feature list, current build status, platform declaration, and build approach. But you know what? Let's check it out. Let's check what we have done at each of these cases. Let's scan the code. And I'm also going to do it with you. Let's have fun together. Let's review ourselves. I would like to repeatedly remind all of us, these are not just for evaluation anymore. Reflection to make sure that we get yourself completed. So you will see, have you submitted your MVP feature list, current build status. Likewise, I want you to platform declaration, build approach. Click the tick if you have submitted it. If you have not, please do not, whatever you have submitted it. If you have not submitted it, please do not submit this, right? This is just to understand all of us on the same page. Let me give it you a few seconds on it. All right. With that understanding, let's move next to see what the results is. Superb. Amazing. So thank you again. As I said, MVP feature list is almost 100%. And this is out of the people who submitted it. And current bill status, we have 80% of the thing that you have decided it. And Mariam, yes, if you have not submitted it so far, please go ahead on when you log in, you'll see a submission due. Go ahead, submit your MVP feature list. What are the features you're thinking about? But do not worry, you have make sure your coaching call is booked between today, tomorrow, day after, and the days, so that we will make sure that you are well aligned with the system and review. Yes, we are the semi-finalist portal. Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Maria. And platform declaration is about 87%, which is amazing. So you have selected whether it's an Android or App Store. So today's session, you're going to see a lot more relevance to that. And build approach, 80% of you have really thought through and completed. Amazing. Thank you very much that you are inspiring with your commitment, and I'm very grateful for it. Right, let's move. All right, what's the goal of the workshop today? Why have we gathered all of us together? As I said, convert your app into realistic MVP is our key focus, and identify and prioritize your core features in a such a way which App Store or Play Store is going to approve. Let me reiterate, this is not your entire vision of it. In a way, how we can achieve this in 45 days. The basic wireframe and the screen flow for the approval purpose, and the milestone and the pilot bills. Yes, let's move. With a lot of energy, I wanted to make sure we do a very, very quick what matters to you for your MVP. This is something we're going to understand for all of us. What is MVP for us, right? So you have a certain set of questions where what's your, like, put your rank what matters most for your MVP. So you can rank what is click on, what you rank the first. So there is works end to end, usable by tester, looks polished, solve a real user problem, and easy to maintain. How would you rank what matters for your MVP? For example, if it is, and you can also move up and down after selecting if you think before submitting it, right? So for example, if you think usable by tester is your one, you can move that to the number one, click on it first and move. And likewise, I want to see your priorities of what is this MVP for you. And I'm going to give a little bit of a time for it. Amazing. Brilliant. Okay. How can I contact my mentor and have the Zoom on every Wednesday? Yes, sir, Sant. That's we'll come back to that, but you please do log into your system and you will see first book whatever the free slots you see. First book your mentorship, one-on-one coaching today, tomorrow on your platform. You'll see. If you want, I will show it towards the end of the workshop today, as it's very important. But from there onwards, your personal mentor and you will select what is the most feasible time and we'll book it for rest of it. Ehsan, if shows it is fully booked, I don't think so, but if it is so, go to a Thursday. You will see your optional support on Thursday, book it. But we'll also get in touch with you to see what is the best time. We even fix it after working hours to fix on with you for tomorrow, a day after, to work with you, Ehsan. And team, please take a note with Ehsan. Yes. Yes, Carmen. Yes, there is a credential given on your system. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, let's move next. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, brilliant. Wow, most of you say solve a real problem is what matters most for your MVP. Beautiful. Works end to end. Usable by tester comes third. Looks polished. Easy to maintain. All right. Yes, as I said, we always think about entrepreneurially, right? When we think about apps and all of it, we really want to solve a problem. But sometimes your real user problem can be solved in an MVP only to an extent. It might be your all the features has to come together to solve the complete problem, but at least it has to be meaningful. That's why you debate around. And works end to end is very important because from a standpoint from the application, if there is dummies, loopholes, it's not going to work, which Suresh is going to explain it further today. Usable by a tester, definitely yes, which is also complements your second and third, works end to end and usable by a tester. And looks polished is again debatable. Uh, where do you want it to be? Like, does it really add value in terms of application process? Maybe, maybe not. But of course, for a user to download and engage, looks polished can go a long way. But in terms of an MVP, as you correctly said, it's not your the priority, but definitely it's good to have in the MVP. Easy to maintain is yes. It's again from an infrastructure point of view, in your technology point of view, it's good to have system in a place that you can easy to maintain. But in terms of your MVP, your easy to maintain is one of your last priority. And I would say you can always debate between the first and the second. Let's make sure we do something which works end to end, and also with the second priority of solving a real user problem, so it complements each other. Let's move. Amazing. I love the energy. Okay, Mehdi, thank you very much. Lovely question. What is the order I would choose? Personally, I would choose it works end to end. You solve a real user problem. It can be tested by a user and easy to maintain and polished. My polish should be the last. I will first choose works end to end so that you don't have any facing challenges in the store listing, right? And all of it. Amazing. So we're gonna go through some process of getting your 45 days to launch with MVP to the pilot build. I would like to have my colleague Suresh Piri is joining here to take over with being the napkin skeleton to the store listing. Suresh.
Hi Fawaz, and hi Create Apps team, and pleasure to be here and pleasure to join this workshop for the second time as well. So, just to give a little bit of a background about myself, I have co-founded several startups, and I'm here to share my journey with you all and some of the experiences I've been through over the past couple of years. I know, right? We are living in the era of AI, right? So we should think about, okay, how are we going to ensure that our startup will sustain in the next couple of years where it won't be yet another failure, right? So I'm here to talk about how we can get our MVP, how we can get our initial version to into a production grade, right? Based on what you'll have in hand right now. So today's workshop is all about that. So let me quickly go to my slide deck and let's get started. Right. I hope it's visible. Can someone please confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes,
Yes,
Suresh.
All right, great. So a couple of years ago, I was with my co-founder, right? So we were discussing a small startup idea at a restaurant, at a normal restaurant at a city, right? So we went to this restaurant and we were thinking of um, the manual process they were following. For an example, if you want to place an order, the restaurant was taking the order through their waiters, and it's taking a very large amount of time to process the order. See, for an example, even at your location, even if you want to go to a restaurant when you want to place a booking or a table booking, right? How many of you faced a difficulty when locating a table or a place to eat? I believe all of you had that issue basically. So we are living in the era of AI. So once we get the restaurant, me and my co-founder decided to digitize this process. How? It is through a customer service AI agentic solution, right? There won't be any sort of human involvement, but we should be able to get it done through a self-service way using an AI agent. So we were actually very curious on building something like that, but we had no idea how the journey is going to be like, right? We were just discussing. Okay, we were looking at their processes, their internal processes from A to B and A to Z as well, but we were trying to figure out how we could automate each of the steps that they were being following. So the idea came up and we had no way of writing it down, right? We were just random. So we got the napkin from the restaurant and we tried to sketch how the user journey is going to be. That was the initial idea spark that we got. So I think a lot of startups in the modern startup space, a lot of ideas just began at restaurants and maybe at bars also. Depends on what sort of idea it is. It could be a random idea that comes on the way itself. So what I did was basically me and my co-founder, we just took a napkin and we drew the whole architecture, the user journey, and even some of the UI sketches that would make our application look real. So that was the initial spark. And right now, after 2 years, we managed to secure one of the largest deals in the industry right now after scaling process. So that's the initial ballspark of the entire idea. So you all have 45 days to launch the product, right? So we know it's some sort of a tricky thing. Sometimes you might feel like, okay, is it really possible to get it done within 45 days? Is it really possible, right? Because we know sometimes there could be challenges, sometimes there could be difficulties, because we understand that 45 days is a very short time period, but somehow we had to achieve that. So we are here to guide you on how we could achieve that challenge and how we could prioritize on the features, how we could build your MVP from scratch to production grade, where the Google Play and Apple will accept your submission. And that's the end objective we have. So think about building this application as opening a restaurant, right? Because opening a restaurant would take a long time. It would require investments, it would require finding the place, it would require finding the staff, right? It's going to be a massive process. But just imagine you're opening a restaurant that specializes in one dish that could be a world famous dish, right? So that is the sweet spot that we are trying to understand within this 45 days of time period. It's going to be find the sweet spot and addressing the current market, the correct audience, the correct market, as well as mapping down the correct product that you want to build. So when talking about the products, it's not only a product that's going to be built for a massive scale, right? So sometimes your initial ideas might be end up being $1 million business, sometimes even $1 billion business. For an example, you might have used this application called Uber, right? So I think it's there in most of the countries right now. So in Uber application, if you have seen, this is the initial wireframes the co-founders of Uber put into the place actually, right? So they were meeting another restaurant and they were trying to map entire user journey of how Uber is going to look like. Sometimes this sort of a user journey might not be the end product that you would build. There could be a lot of iterations. So even if I take my product that we have built, it's an AI platform that that AI can automate the human customer service journey. So that wasn't the exact product that we drew a couple of years ago at the restaurant. It was the initial perspective. It was the MVP, right? But there were a lot of iterations after that because we actually wanted to sketch our idea into a piece of paper, right? Where we can build
Oh,
something at our so basically, that was the initial thing. Same as for Uber's perspective, they want to map it out into real diagrams. For an example, in this screen, as you can see, there are multiple screens they have designed, right? The map, the booking screens, as well as different other screens as well. So that was the initial MEP idea they have built using a piece of paper. So right now, as you know, Uber caters to millions of users on their transport journeys, and it has multiple services. For an example, Uber Eats, delivery, and multiple services are there. So based on that, they have been able to scale it up into multiple services that provides you excellent set of user journeys as well as the user experience. Right. So this is what it is right now. So as you know, sometimes building these sort of applications, for an example, if you're a beginner, right, designing something like this could be challenging. So one of the tips that I can give is like, for an example, based on my experience, we have to think about, we have to think as an end user, not as a developer, right? As a company, we should know, okay, as a company, we know, okay, these are the longer roadmap we are going to have, but we should go into the boots of a user. How are they going to use it? How are they going to interact with the application? If the UI, if whatever the screens are going to be very complex enough, no one is going to use your application. Even if you provide thousands of great features, no one is going to use it if you don't have the correct user experience through your user journey. So when you're sketching something like this, we should always think about the perspective of a real user, and the user should be able to navigate through your basic features and then get the service from your application. So that is going to be the expectation of building something like this. This is Uber right now, right? We have seen it's in multiple countries around the world and providing multiple services like ride hailing, food delivery, to transit, and multiple services basically. And it's using multiple very complex number of international services as well, even card payments and different integrators are there. This is what it is right now. Right. So let's talk about the wireframing process basically. So those are in the ideation phase. I know some people might be in ideation phase with certain set of features who want to build a real world application. So in that case, my recommendation is take a piece of paper, right? First of all, draw the application in a way that someone would understand the set of features that you are going to draw. For an example, in this case, if you take the Uber's example, you can see as this drawing, right? This is the banner section, and then you have the multiple categories. For an example, ride hailing, food, and transit, whatever the features, you have it like this. So right now in the market, right now, there are multiple tools that you can bring this sort of a wireframe into a real world sketch, because there are a lot of AI tools as well that we can use to convert this sketch into a real world UI, right? Because we don't need to have expert level of UI designing skills to make this sort of a wireframe into a real world production grade UI, because there are a lot of tools. For an example, Figma has recently launched a UI builder. You can draw the wireframe and you can convert that into a real UI. And if you take Gemini, Gemini has launched this new model called Gemini Nano Banana, which is image model, which is really good image model. You can just draw the sketch, upload that to Gemini, and Gemini would convert that into a real world polished UI kind of thing that you can present into present to someone and get someone's feedback basically. And also, Google has launched another tool called Google Stitch. So Google Stitch is actually another great tool that anyone could use and build an interactive UI. So it does not need to have a polished UI, right? You just need to take a piece of paper and draw something like this and upload to Stitch, and it will give you a polished UI based on whatever the input you're giving. Right. Now, what are the considerations when you're designing something like this? That's the most important part here, basically, right? For an example, this is actually the wireframes. We call it as the wireframes. And in the wireframes, what we do is basically we define the most important features. First of all, even if we have thousands of features, we have to scope it down into, let's say, three most important features. So like I mentioned in my first slide, right, it's not all about opening a five-star restaurant. It's all about opening a restaurant, but with a one signature dish, right? So it could be one signature dish, or it could be a few others basically. But we should have some sort of specialization, right? So let's say if you're trying to replicate the same model of Uber, right? Sometimes that might work, that might not work as well. But if it doesn't work properly, what should we do correctly? We should think about a model where we can give the experience in a different way. For an example, if you feel like the experience of Uber is quite a bit of complex to the general user, we can think about different approach to represent this layout in a better way, basically. So in this example, you can see we have the banner, we have the main menu icons, right? And where to, right? So in this example, if someone lands in the Uber's landing page, these are the main things they would do, right? So even if it's a user who has less technical background, what they would do is basically they will just click on the where to button and enter their city, and it will book a ride. See, it has been made very simple. So that is the expectation of your application app as well. Keep it very simple. Don't overcomplicate the application. Even though you have thousands of features, don't try to overcomplicate it. Keep it very simple. Keep it to the point, basically. So in this example, they just need to enter their city name, and then it will book a ride from point A to B. And then you have the second screen. So in the second screen, whenever the user enters their city name, what happens is basically it will show the destination as well as your current location. So in this case, you don't have to enter your current location to book a ride, right? Because it's going to identify your current location by the GPS, and it's going to only capture the two locations, the destination. So from here, you can actually pick whatever the locations, and then it will show point A to B, and even the pricing for each vehicle, and then confirm. So within a couple of minutes, you will meet your driver and the roles, and finally the map as well. See how simple that is basically. So depends on whatever the application you all are building. You all have to make sure that Keep it simple and keep the process very simple. Don't try to represent everything in the same page. Try to have multiple screens and try to keep it as a wizard. So I have seen applications which has multiple inputs in the single page, but no one bothers to fill all the sections. For an example, just imagine Uber is trying to design the screen in a way that you have to enter the um, into your own location and the to location, as well as like a Google form kind of thing, where you enter every single thing as a separate field. No one is going to use your application because of the user journey is going to be much more complicated. So you all have to keep it very simple in a way that it's going to make the user interactivity understandable by the user basically. So we call it as the low fidelity wireframe. So we can draw it very easily, even if you are a beginner, even if you are very new to app development. First of all, have this. Then there are more than enough AI tools and there are more than enough UI tools that we can use to make it a real world wireframe. Even if you don't have UI skills, that's totally fine. Don't be discouraged. We can get it done. Right. So let's talk about the journey that we are supposed to complete, right? So we have 45 days. So 45 days is actually very for a startup founder, you might feel like it's a short time period, right? But it's not. It's actually going to be a real life changer for y'all because there's going to be a lot of challenges in the future as well. Because we have to work with the compliance of Google as well as Apple. Because at the end of the day, we have to get our application up and running somehow by the end of 45 days. We have to make sure our application is up and running on Apple App Store as well as Google Play Store. So we had to comply with the guidelines to make sure our application goes live. So, like I mentioned, it's not a marathon. It's not a marathon, right? It's a sprint, which means we have to set our objectives. We have to put our own deadlines, our own time frames. So then only we can make it a reality to get our application published by the end of the timeline, basically. So one thing is that based on a lot of users, based on a lot of people I have interacted with, people think that, okay, if you have to complete the application development within 45 days, is it going to be a complete development, right? We completely understand sometimes it's not possible to build a complete application within 45 days. That's completely fine. That's understandable as well. But it should have the sweet spot that we are looking at. The uniqueness has to be there. So let me clarify that once more again, right? For an example, if you are to submit this sort of application into Google or Apple, they would seek the completeness. So what is completeness? Now it might sound contradicting, right? I mentioned that it doesn't have to be a complete application. So now I'm saying for Google to approve your application, it has to be complete. It's contradicting. I understand that. It has to be complete. Whatever the features you all develop, whatever the features that are coming in along with the application has to be complete. The application for the you can have a longer roadmap though, right? There could be multiple features that you all are planning to have in the future. That is completely okay. But whatever the features you all develop, even if it's one feature, even if it's two features, those features has to be complete and it has to be usable as well. So some people think when it comes to MEP, does it need to be fully functional? Yes, it has to be functional, right? Because at the end of the day, if you take the review teams of Google and if you take the review teams of Apple, they are the actual people who are going to use your application and evaluate your application and give you all the evaluation. And then only they are going to approve your application. So all the features whatever the features you all publish has to be usable by them as well. So let me clarify one more thing here, basically. Just imagine we are building 10 features. So out of the 10 features, you have 5 features that are working properly, and there are 5 features that are not working properly. So in that case, are they going to focus about the 5 working features or 5 not working features? They are going to find out the issue with the 5 defective features, and they are going to reject your application. So don't fall into that trap. Make sure whatever you publish is in perfect state. Even if you publish one single feature, even if you publish 2 features, That's totally fine. Make sure you complete the features and then submit to whatever the store. So another tip that I can give is that a lot of people, when they're submitting, they submit a lot of features. So don't do that basically. Even if it's one feature, go ahead and submit. So you all create your own roadmap. So I know that you all have a lot of features to discuss as well. So in that case, even if you have 10 features, just prioritize on what are the features that needs to go first. So you all plan your own sprint and give it a priority, highest, high priority, low priority, mid priority, just like that. Make sure you all have the priority and plan what is going to be the release number one. For an example, when Facebook was launched at the dawn, at a university dome, right? They didn't have anything like this, right? They didn't. It was just a messaging application between two individuals, right? They didn't have the Facebook Marketplace, they didn't have Facebook Live, they didn't have Facebook Games, nothing like that. It was just a simple application that two individuals can chat with each other, right? That was the MVP they launched, but they still launched it somehow. And after 10 years, it became the world's number one social media, right? That's going to be the roadmap, right? They launched something which is interactable by human, right? So by the roadmap, you can definitely complete the rest as well. So that's going to be the objective. So make sure you all utilize it properly and plan what should go first and what should go second. Right. So one thing is that choosing the right technologies. So when you're building this sort of MEP, you all should think about, okay, how can we build it very fast? If I choose a very complicated architecture, for an example, just imagine you are building an application with microservices architecture, or if you are building an application with a very complex cloud architecture, it's going to consume a lot of time, right? Because we don't have time to build a production grade application. Because we believe that, okay, if we take a real world application, it's going to take months to develop. For an example, my application took somewhere around 2 years to develop, right? But if we waited without taking any action, what would have happened, right? Some other competitor can come into the market and they would have launched the same product in the same market and they would have captured that. So we should not let that happen. We should launch with whatever we have right now. Okay. So we understand production rate systems is going to take very longer time frames, maybe 6 months, maybe years to complete, but we don't have that much of a timeline to complete, right? Because we only have 45 days to work with. So during the 45 days, we should make sure that how are we going to properly utilize the time frame? How are we going to deliver? What are the features we are going to offer? So that we have to be really focused on. So in that case, choosing of the right technology is what matters the most, basically. So we have to take the shortcuts here. So in this case, for an example, we are going to look at different sorts of development technologies. For an example, low code, no code, and full code pathways in the future workshops as well. Even today, we are going to talk about what sort of a coding strategy, development strategy we're going to be using to develop this application, because we don't have much time to go with the production grade architecture. Your application could be usable by a couple of people, right? Think about how are we going to deliver this application to 10 users? How are we going to deliver this application to 100 users? So later on, after this program, you all can think about scaling it up to million users when the application scales up. So initially, we'll just think about a simple architecture of how we can build it as a basic application that can cater to a small group of users, but it should be workable. Right. So now let's talk about the challenges. Now, this is the biggest challenge that a lot of people here might face, right? It's a realistic challenge because we had to be prepared for that. Otherwise, I know that it is going to be the challenge because we know that all of you are really skillful and talented, but there's going to be a hurdle. The hurdle is from Google and Apple. It's not from anyone. It's not from your team. It's not from the Create Apps challenge, right? It's going to be from Google and Apple. Why is that? They have very strict timelines. So Google has this policy. So Google has two types of Google Play accounts, which is the enterprise account, and they have something called personal account, right? So enterprise account would require the business registration documents, as well as it would require DUNS numbers, and it would require a lot of information from yourselves basically to sign up for enterprise account. And nowadays they are doing a manual review process of those documents as well. If you have the registration documents for your startup, for your company, you all can apply for an enterprise account. For the approval process, it's going to take somewhere around 5 to 7 days, 5 to 7 working days to be specific. So after the approval process, there's going to be many other things that we had to work with. For an example, submitting of the application builds, submitting of the metadata, the listing, and multiple other things as well.
Hi, Suresh.
Yeah, for
Suresh,
us, I think we have
I
a
think
question. No?
Ehsan has a question. Yes, Ehsan.
I just want to ask for the due dates in 45 days, we have to upload the app on the App Store and Google Play Store or only the App Store?
Suresh, let me take it up. Depending on your feasibility, we will definitely advise to take it up one app, not to have it on both. We'll work towards one. But you have the liberty to choose what you really want to work towards, and we will also look at the feasibilities of what is feasible and what is not. So the idea is we'll work on one specific thing at this point, most easy. I mean, like Suresh is explaining, both has its pros and cons. Google might take a little more time to approval, and there's a mandatory testing period. But also to have an Apple account, the DUNS number, and all of it is also a different challenge. So we'll go through approaching mostly on individual calls. But idea is you'll have to choose your declaration. You had the MVP for first week. You need to choose one platform. Unless if you choose both, you need to have a dedicated team and a support behind so that they can work on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, go on, Suresh.
All right. So first of all, I'll try to explain the process that Google follows to get your application up and running on the production. And also I'll talk about the requirements you had to follow, right? So if you take Google Play Store, like I mentioned, I'll mention it once again. There are two types of accounts. The first type is called the enterprise account, and we have another type is called the personal account. So to create a personal account, it would not require much documents. So you had to upload your identity document, maybe the driving license, maybe the passport, and you can get a personal account done very easily. It won't take much time. But there are pros and cons in both. If you take the personal account, it's going to add up somewhere around 14 days to get your application tested, right? So the easiness of creating the account is there, but in terms of getting an application published, it's going to be very difficult because it's going to take somewhere around 14 continuous days to get your application in the testing phase to the production grade. So that's going to be a challenge. But if you take the enterprise account, the setting up process is very complicated because you have to upload the business registration document, you have to get the DUNS number, you have to verify your identity. There's a massive process. But in terms of getting your application approved, there's no wait time. You can immediately apply for the application. There's no testing time. And then within 5 days, 5 working days, you will get the application approval as soon as possible. So that is the hurdle basically we have. So you all have to think, you have to strategically think here, okay, whether I'm going to apply for the enterprise account or are we going to apply via the personal account. So it depends on the information you have in hand. Yes, you can decide that. So if there's any questions, feel free to interrupt me and ask. I'll add up more context into this as well. All right. So moving forward.
Suresh, I'm just going to take up quick questions here and there so that we have applicable. Mehdi, I think Suresh kind of elaborated on the uniqueness. Sarah Abu, I have an entity registered in the UAE, but no app activity within the trade license. Will they do no, Sarah. You can, if you have a trade license and if your name of the app is or the account is the same, you can create a enterprise developer account with your trade license in UAE. That shouldn't be a problem. They'll not look into the activity because that is more of a regulatory. It's not the same as that, but you can get an enterprise account. It shouldn't be a problem. It's just that, I mean, to be specific, we'll discuss on the one-to-one call. But the idea will be you can get an enterprise account as far as you have a valid trade license in UAE. Can it be so it's not the same, not a problem. Khalid is yes. Can it be changed later? What if we register yes, Karina, we will also again talk in the one-to-one if you have those concerns, but yes, It's possible for you to transfer the accounts and all of it much for a branding, because it's usually done in most of the venture studio setup where we pilot build it, and then we can do a Google account or a App Store account a transformation. Not a possible. I mean, not an impossible. Taha, is it must to publish a successful after 4 days proceed in the competition, or just having a ready MVPs is enough? Just to be very specific, Taha, the completion is you should have an app which you can download in one of these Play Store or App Store, right? So how much you have the meaningful MVP is definitely up to how much we can develop. But as Suresh said, there is no way either Apple or Google is going to approve you a half-baked, in simple words. But yes, you need to have something meaningful which can be downloaded. That's why this process comes into place. Sarah, my name is in the trade license. Yeah, sure, not a problem. That shouldn't be a problem. Yes, yes, Khalid. Did I miss your question? No. Khalid, would you want to speak?
Yeah. So, hey, Fawaz. Yeah. Once again, the question is, as he told, about the Google thing, and I got it. When he was discussing about the uniqueness and Suresh, especially my question is for Suresh. So he was talking about uniqueness and everything. Like, let's say we take the example of Uber, right? And you said you have 10 different features, all should be working perfectly. Let's say we have five working, we don't have working, right? Now if a app main purpose is to order something, let's say for Uber, right?
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
have to have the whole connection of different drivers or the team on different locations, then only the app processing can be done or the order can be processed, right? So
Yeah.
I'm saying in my case the same order should be done. So that is not possible, until and unless we get a broad connection of the whole thing, we get the funding or something to make connections, join clinics so that we can place the order. So in that case, how we can cope up with that, because that's a very important feature we know to showcase in the MVP, yet we cannot
Okay.
make it exactly
I
working.
I get it. I'm going to answer Suresh's a little more technically, but Khalid, this is something very specific. We're going to take it up in your one-to-one. That's where we're going to see the how the journey map can reshape. And most importantly, there is two things. One is how meaningful your product is, how feasibly we can achieve something in 45 days, right? Because for you to be qualified further, I'll leave it up to Kaman and the team. But as part of this accelerator, you need to have a mobile app which can be downloadable in 45 days. That's a feasibility of it. Now you come to the desirability in terms of where how much the industry can work with you, how much the end user can have a meaningful transaction in your app is something that which we really need to look at it from a regulatory point of view, licensing, and few other options. Now, for example, if you're talking about e-commerce, and the wallet transaction for you to have a wallet account, right? There is something even beyond developing it, so which even the Google and the App Store has its own restriction. So I would heavily advise we go through in detail on the one-to-one call, but yes, it has to be mutually met in some bit in between in middle. Suresh, if you want to take a quick minute to answer that, and we can go. Yes.
Yeah, Fawaz, sure. So basically, that's a good question, Khalid. Thanks for asking that. So let me take up your example. For an example, just imagine you're building a delivery application in your scenario, right? I understand it would require the drive application as well as the consumer application. Let's assume that. But just imagine the delivery application could have some sort of luxury features as well. For an example, it could have a wallet, it would have additional payment methods, it would have some sort of additional things that are not mandatory. But the core functionality has to be the order fulfillment, right? For an example, the consumer should be able to place an order, and then the driver has to be able to deliver the order for the consumer. That's going to be the user journey. To build this sort of application, sometimes you don't even need a driver application. Maybe to get things started, you can have your own call center, right? Whenever you get an order, you can manually call the driver and say, okay, here you have a driver, you have an order to deliver from A to B. So in that case, you can follow something like that
Yeah,
initially.
Suresh,
But
I'm sorry to interrupt, Suresh. Just a small thing I would like to add. Yeah, you got my point, but there is a small anomaly that I experienced during the answer you gave. You said the driver application we don't need. No, I was not talking about that. Let's say we just have the user application, but in order to place the order for
yeah,
different locations, we need to have drivers assigned at different location. That was my question. Let's suppose We want to place a e-commerce order for biomarkers, for test, for diagnostic test in UAE, right? So we need to have the network of the labs to place that order. How we are going to process that? Because right now we cannot do that. So that was my
Yeah,
question.
sure. So Khalid, Uber didn't scale up within, I think, 1 month or something like that. First of all, when they launched the product, they were targeting a region. For an example, a very short, it could be a very small region. So initially, as MEP, don't think about covering an entire region. Maybe in UAE, don't think about covering a massive region. First of all, think about a smaller region that you can cover within your scope as well. Because right now, immediately, you don't have access to a massive fund, right? Because you
That's
have limited funds as well as limited staff. So you have to think about your capacity also. If you have to launch it immediately, if you launch it tomorrow, am I capable? So in that case, if you have to cater to the entire region, that's not practical enough. So the best option is to choose a target region and choose the target audience and choose build up your operation in a way that it can cater to whatever the user base you are targeting basically. So in that case, the best option is to scale it down initially, and then with the demand and the growth, you can invest more on the development as well as scaling aspect later on. Was
Yeah,
it
the challenge was the country, because in India we already
country?
have some part of
Yes,
the app running and we have great operations going on. But when we come to
correct.
Dubai, we don't have that access right now. So that
Exactly.
is the major challenge we look into. Anyways, thank you
Sure.
so much. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Any other questions? Yes. All right. Yeah. All right. So let me move forward. So talking about, so I just mentioned about the Google Play marathon. Like I mentioned, we had to adhere to their timeline as well. And talking about the testing process, Google requires your application. If your application falls under a personal account, they would require your application to be tested for continuous 14 days with 20 testers, right? So that's going to be the requirement from Google. So we had to adhere to that policy to get our application into production. But if you have an enterprise account, we don't have that restriction. We can immediately go for the production. Just by within 5 to 7 days, they will approve your application. But for personal accounts, this is going to be the challenge basically. So now talking about Apple development accounts, basically there's no tester time period, but there are very strict rules, especially when it comes to payment gateway handling, when it comes to UI designing guidelines. There's going to be a massive number of regulations they are looking at. So we have to make sure we are adhering to all of the Apple designer guidelines. Because if you go to Apple's website, Apple developer website, they have published many guidelines that you all can check it out. So they are checking all of these very strictly. So you have to make sure the application's design is adhering to all of the guidelines. Even covering of a simple logo is not allowed based on the Apple's development guidelines, basically. But the review time is very fast. They are being responsive within 3 to 5 days. So in terms of the review timeline, it's very fast. So um, even the quality of their reviews are very high compared to Google. So just a quick thing, when it comes to Apple development accounts, there are, again, just like Google, there are two types. We have the personal accounts and we have the enterprise accounts as well. So creating an enterprise account would require the DUNS number as well as the business registration information as well. So you need to have the BR document as well as the DUNS number to create an enterprise version of Apple developer account. So that's going to cost you $199 per year, and the personal accounts are going to cost you $99 per year for Apple development account. So in terms of the review time, there's no difference in Apple App Store. So it could be one of the safest option to get your application into the production within the short period of time. So I would recommend Apple is going to be one of the safest option if your application has the quality in the UI. Right. So now let's talk about the cupcake theory, right? So this is a theory that I always believe in. So for an example, just imagine you're opening some sort of a cafe, right? So in the cafe, just imagine you're supposed to build a triple latte coffee. So in that case, let's say you don't have any resources, but the customer is thirsty. So if the customer is thirsty, still, if you don't have the product, if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the capacity to build something, but you have to address the customer's need, right? So maybe a glass of water would be the initial point of sale in that case, but still you are not losing your customer. We should not think about an approach that customer would be disappointed, right? It's better to offer a glass of water than saying the restaurant is closed. We are still working on it, right? It's better to offer something, and then you still have the customer in hand, and the customer won't be disappointed. But still, you can work on yourself and keep on adding new products and something like that. Okay, so let's talk about the cupcake theory now. So for an example, an MVP has to be usable. For an example, the glass of water can be known as an MVP, a minimal viable product. It serves the purpose, right? But it's not the product. It serves the purpose. So just like the previous example I have given, we have to think about, okay, whether the MVP addresses the user's core need, right? It sometimes it can be sometimes it's not a decorated fully on product, right? For an example, in this case, you can see the full product is a decorated cake. It might take a longer time to develop, right? But cupcake would be the most easiest version you can build. So always think about what is the most easiest version you can build. For an example, I mentioned in the college question as well, building the application is the most easiest way. And as you can see, there are some other examples we have given here as well. For an example, building a car without wheels. Is it MVP? No, right? Still, it's not usable. But if I take the water example, what is usable, right? It addresses the user's need. But building an MVP, building a car without wheels is not usable. So it's not a MVP basically. A right MVP is basically building a skateboard, right? It's usable. Just imagine you're building a car company, but you don't have the budget, you don't have the capacity to build something, but you need to get something out. The objective is to move from point A to B, right? Even a skateboard would work, would be the would address a need basically. So MVP is not something which is not complete. So the product, it has to meet the customer's objective. Whether if it's transport from point A to B, it has to address. Whether if it's a thirst, it has to address basically. So MVP is something like that, right? All right. So now let's talk about how we can validate these things, how we can prove our MVPs, whether if it's working or not. There has to be a way to validate this basically. So we have two approaches.
Hi, Suresh. Just gonna
Yes,
interrupt
Ross.
for the engagement purpose. Sarah is asking a question. For Apple, do you recommend enterprise or personal account? Sarah, if you can get an enterprise account, it's gonna be your DUNS number approval is gonna be much more faster. And I can tell you, if you have a UAE trade license, your DUNS number is gonna come much more faster. So again, we'll take that on your one-to-one call. But yes, and then Hassan, does it provide an advantage to develop on iOS versus Android, or your evaluation will be same regardless of the platform? Hassan, this specifically depends on what sort of infrastructure and what sort of capability that you will be able to support with, and then idea specific too. Okay, we'll take it up on your one-to-one, but as Suresh was explaining, both has two pros and cons, right? The approval time,
Yeah.
the mandatory review of 14 days is on Google, which Apple doesn't have. But sometimes Apple doesn't give you enough information why they are rejecting your app, or what is the improvements to be done with the privacy and policy. It also depends with your concept. Please do not mind. Let's take it on your one-to-one. But yes, it has your pros and cons. Ehsan, you have a question?
Yes, in the cupcake example, what would be like a completed MVP? Because it was written, I think it was written close to complete MVP. Like, what would be a full MVP in that case? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
Fawaz.
small but complete. What would be like maybe a big or complete, or what would be like the step in between the cake and the semi-complete MVP?
Just to add, there can be more icing can happen towards the more full products you need to, but these are again, as we were explaining, between your completed user journey and completed user features. Right? Your user journey is always helps you to capture the market better, right? But your user feature is mandatory for you to get your app approved, right? So that's where we'll be drawing the lines and the MVP features. Do not worry. We'll go through your MVP features on your one-to-one and see what level of icing we can go ahead, the availability of time and the technology stack you're using. Yes, Suresh, we can keep moving, Suresh. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
So to address that, I think I can give two perspectives for this basically. With regard to the full product and the small but complete MVP basically. One thing is the technical architecture. For an example, like I mentioned, to build a full product, it would require a lot of technical viability, technical architectures, and maybe scalabilities and the cloud architecture, cloud infrastructure, and proper versions basically. So that could be another way. That would be another aspect of the full product. The other area is basically feature-wise, basically. For an example, there could be luxury features that you might not require the initial version. Those are the optional features. So you can keep it for a later release to be taken as a full product. But initially, for a basic MVP, you can take the core features and work on it, and then later on, you can transform into the full version of it, the most important features. So that could be a possibility for it later in terms of technical as well as the features. Right. Okay. So let's move forward. So let's talk about the validation. So now let's say we have a great idea. We have a basic UIs and we have everything in hand. And how do you know whether the idea would work, right? So we had to validate the idea. Some people they build applications blindly, right? Because we know sometimes we think, okay, we have a great idea, but we haven't spoken to our customer. Speaking to our customer is very crucial for successful businesses, because without speaking to the actual customer, we can't really validate whether this idea would work or not. So one thing is that we have a way to validate. It's called the fake door test, right? So you build a very basic landing page and you have a sign up button, and then maybe you run a basic social media campaign and you can check if the people would sign up. So you might have seen applications, for an example, even Google does it. Before Google launched Gemini, they had a wait list, right? Once you go to the Gemini's landing page, previous it used to be a joining wait list, right? You can sign up, you can put your email, you can sign up for it, and then they send you, they keep sending you updates, saying that okay, the product is going to be live in another 2 months, and then it will keep asking for feedback. So that would be a really good way to get your customer engagement. So you run a very basic social media campaign and talk to the customer, and then you'll see how many people would sign up. So this approach that really worked out for me as well. So what I did was before we launched the full product of what we did, we made a very basic landing page, which is a very single page landing page as well. And then we ran a very basic social media campaign, and we shared the link with our friends and customers and potential people. And then we asked, okay, whether they will sign up for this sort of application, right? Sometimes the product might not be ready as well, but we should capture the interest of the audience. So that's the really important. That's the real importance of having a wait list, and you can convert the wait list customers into real customers once you go live, right? Because you can keep on sending newsletters. You can even ask them to refine your product, because there's a really important thing in the entrepreneurship journey. The initial customers that you have are the ones who are going to define your product, right? So those are the set of customers who's going to refine your product's the roadmap. So we need to have that sort of a audience first of all to understand the roadmap of your product basically. The next thing is the comparative audit, right? We can actually see what are the similar products we have in the market, right? You can do a simple Google search, or you can go to Gemini or ChatGPT and ask, what are the similar products in this market? And then you can maybe sign up for one of these products and you can see their reviews and ratings and understand what are the negative sides of these products and what are the customers are saying negative about their products basically. So maybe we can do better with our product. For an example, if you take a restaurant example, right? Let's say you want to start a new restaurant, but you have known uniqueness. So what you could do is basically you can search about a similar restaurant who does the same product or the food item or the dish, and you can say, you can check out, okay, what are the negatives about it and how better you can do, right? So once you understand that, that's going to be the perfect way that you can refine your product basically. So one thing that you can do is whenever you find a competitor, you have a table, list down their features, yeah, their positives, their negatives, as well as things you could improve, and then list your product as well and compare with the global products that we have basically, right? So once you compare, basically, you can have understanding on what you could do better and what you could, how you could capture the market in the similar market in a better way. Right. The final point is a mom test. I know that a lot of people are sending out surveys to find out whether the product idea is good or not. So what they usually do is basically they just say, okay, is the idea good enough? And you are sharing to all of your friends. So what's going to happen is basically they are going to say, okay, the idea is brilliant, right? They're just going to say the idea is brilliant, and that's going to be the obvious answer that you would get from all of your friends and family, right? That should not be the correct way of doing that. You should find out the actual barriers they are in. For an example, you can see the good question would be something like, when was the last time you struggled with problem X, right? You can ask something like that, because we have to understand the real pain points of the users, not the happy path. We have to go in the negative path and understand the negatives they have faced and what are the real challenges they are facing in the industry and what are the real challenges they are facing with a product A. That is going to be the challenge here, basically, not to refine that your idea is good or bad, just to understand what are the struggles. So based on that, you can define your own roadmap, and you can plan the future roadmap as well, and you can plan the whole product based on the findings that you get from all of these three steps basically. All right. So now we have a little bit of interactive activity as well. But before that, I want to talk about a few things about mapping a user journey and mapping what the user's expectation is basically. So we have an interesting concept called user stories. Can I see a raise of hands on Zoom? Those who have heard about a concept called user stories. Okay, so I believe it's a new concept. Okay, we have Amar and anyone else? All right, okay.
I
I see
think
all of
there's
you.
a quite a few, Alan.
Yeah.
And yeah, nice.
So it's
Nice.
so it's a really interesting concept that we were also trying out with the customers. With the initial customers, we had to refine our product and to map the concepts, map the features in a way that we understand and even the users understand. So we call it as user story. So there are different ways of writing these user stories. Maybe you can use online tool. So in our company, in our startup, we use a product called Jira, which is a really great tool that you all can map these user stories and write these user stories and properly manage it in a way that the entire tech team would understand, and also the requirement the product owners would understand. So especially when it comes to startup space, we sometimes it's not always about being technical, right? We had to understand the requirement first, and we had to map it in a way that anyone would understand, even if it's technical person or non-technical person. They should be able to understand the requirement first of all. So that's going to be the whole objective of writing a user story. So I'll show you some of the examples. First of all, we can give a story title. For an example, just imagine you're building a user story. Let's say, as a hungry student, I want to see restaurants within 1 kilometer so that I can walk there between classes. So that is going to be the lamest term that you can define user story for application that you can find restaurants within 1 kilometer. So what you could do is basically you can define the problem they are facing. For an example, as a The role could be hungry student because we are addressing our application more towards hungry students, those who are seeking places to have food. So the role is going to be the hungry student, and I want to is basically the objective. It has to be met so that I can walk there between classes. The end result, basically, right? So we can take example like that. So as a role, and then the objective and the end location. Sorry, the end reasoning. So I'll take another example. Just imagine you are building a system that books hotels for you, right? Something like booking.com. You want to find a place where you can stay, and at the end you should have what? You should have the booking ID, and you should have the booking confirmation, right? So usually who are the audience who are going to use this sort of system? It's going to be the travelers. As a traveler, I want to find a hotel that I can stay the night. So that is going to be the expectation. So that I would have my confirmation number, and then I can spend the night. That's going to be the end objective, basically. And also you can mark it as the importance. For an example, high, highest, medium, low. So you can give your own priority based on the importance, and then you can give it your own estimate. Estimate is going to be based on the timeline. So usually in the industry, we are using a concept called time points, but we don't have to overcomplicate it. So we'll just go with the days. For an example, how long it's going to take to complete that feature. So that's going to be the estimate. So we have to estimate the time. For an example, let's say it's going to take somewhere around 5 days to complete this feature. So I can give estimate by my own basically. And then acceptance criteria is basically, okay, let's say I have all the conditions satisfied. And then what's going to be the acceptance criteria? For an example, and I know I'm done when I have the booking confirmation and the email in hand. That's going to be the acceptance criteria, right? So I think it's very simple. As is the user role, I want is the objective, so that what would satisfy my requirement, and then criteria is basically what should be there to meet that, to make sure that the objective has been met. So yeah, so you can see there are two examples. We already went through this, and you can see there's a bad example as well. For an example, it says the app needs a map. It's very lame, right? It has to describe something. It has to describe the role, the objective, the reason, and the criteria as well. So it has to be like that. And also, it has to have type. So depending on multiple types of user stories you have, you can have your own type as well. So this actually depends on application type to type. So yeah, so you can come up with that. So I'll show you a very basic example. So based on my startup, how we have written these user stories. So you can actually go to this tool called Jira. So Jira is actually a really great tool that you all can use to define the user stories, right? So it has to be written in a way that anyone would understand. For an example, if you take this, you can see the story which says, as a user who forgot my password, I want to request a password reset link via email so that I can regain access to my account. So you can see it's in very basic English. Anyone could easily understand that, and even a non-technical person can understand that, and they can describe the task. Because usually the BA people, the business analysts are not that technical. They are in non-technical space basically. So they should be able to understand what should be done and what's going to be the end objective. So you can see with Jira, you can even define subtask also. If it's the front end, if it's a back end, so you can have your subtask, and also you can give your own time points also. You can set your own due dates. You can set the sprints. You can set the team or whatever the information you can easily give here, and it's going to be very organized if you use a tool like this. So apart from Jira, there are many other tools that you all can use to project manage. For an example, you can use something like ClickUp. You can use there are more products as well. You can use something like Asana. You can use something like Monday. So these are all really good products that you all can use to build these sort of user stories, and you can get things done. So for us,
Amazing.
over to you.
Yes, thank you. Right, team, amazing. I'm sure that we've discussed quite a lot of technical engagement. Now, let's go back to the activity. There is a Miro link on the chat, which Taruka has put in. Taruka, if you can also share the link again to be sure. This is, you will have, if you, I'm going to share my screen so that you can stop. And here we go. I hope you all can see my screen. Right, perfect. Yeah, do you see my screen? Yes, brilliant. So here, if you go to the Miro board, you will find your team name here on the top. Right, so find your team name and go to the team name, and I want you to think about one top feature. And I would say to avoid features like login and sign up, avoid those features because it's very straightforward. But think about a feature like if you have if as a consumer or if as a user I need to list a booking. If it is a marketplace, I need to list a property. Or imagine if it is an educational thing, I need to purchase a program. Or if it is a hailing app, so Suresh was talking about, like Uber, right? All of it. So all of like different concepts. I'll also show an example here on it. Like imagine if it is about, so your top feature, add here top feature is like student confirmation or booking confirmation. So as a participant, so you need to see what is the role that they need to action this, because you might sometime have different role, a merchant, user, booking, admin per se. And I want, what do you want? I want example, confirm booking, location or booking number, so that the user gets a confirmed hotel, right? So then now you understand, as a participant, you go and confirm a booking or a location so that you get a confirmation. Important, you decide between high, medium, and low. And I would say it's medium. And estimate number of days, which again Suresh told you about. And the acceptance criteria. Does you want a user to get an email, SMS, or even can be a push notification if it is a marketing feature? So you can think about what is the acceptance criteria. And the type, is it an authentication, booking flow, or a payment, or even if it is something else? So please, let's take about 5-10 minutes. I would like to see all of you working on this. If there's anyone who has a challenge with access, please let me know. No need to sign in. You should be able to just straightforward access and get on it. So I can see the team starting to working on. So yes, let's go. So this is again setting your understanding about having a user journey completed. Amazing. So I'm just gonna see what's the first one is going on. So ARDSHD, gamified age data diagnostic tool. As a patient curious about age data evaluation, child, adolescent, or adult. So see, likewise, I want you to build yours. We're gonna keep checking yours. This is one of the reasons we want to get you on your laptop. Amazing. I can already see the teams are working on the specific ones. Let's have a fun engagement and about building our reality of the app. Amazing. Brilliant. Lovely. Just gonna keep zooming into some of those. Okay. Thank you, Arid. As a small business owner, to fill an RFQ from submitted to verified, good. You're going good. And I can see Kazna started working on the team name. Okay, Juza. Okay, yet to be worked on it. I can see. And if anyone who doesn't find your team name, please let me know. Should be there mostly, if I'm not wrong. But in case if you don't, feel free to buzz in. This also going to give us an engagement about your team participation team. So I would like your team to have worked something on it so that we really know establishment of commitment. You remember we talked about our kickoff? Yes. Lovely. Amazing. Right, it's okay, I see some message. Okay. Sarah, I'm just gonna go to everyone. Yes, here it is. So please do click on this link, Sarah, and then you will find this particular Miro board accessed. Go to your team, exact team, and you need to complete one of the features user journey. For example, I'm going to take a real-time example here. So this is something our team is building. So if you see the top feature they have identified is gamified ADHD diagnostic tool. As a patient curious about ADHD and evaluation child adolescent, I want to complete an objective of game-based assessment that help me understand how attention function work. This is little generic area, but do not worry. It's great that you are trying. And so that I can gain a clarity about my cognitive profile, receive a reliable ADHD diagnostic. And still he is working on it. So let me take an example which is not worked. So if you take this as a student, I want to confirm booking location or booking number. Recent example, a user get a confirmed hotel. Acceptance criteria, user gets a confirmation email, SMS, or anything relevant. Your importance and estimate. So this is for you to understand whenever you have more features, it's going to require this XYZ number of days, the importance and the flow should make sense. Right, so that's the idea. So I hope that's very clear. Yeah. Just going to go ahead and see how many of you are working. Okay. Great. So please make sure that we all contribute to your own teams and one feature so that we have thought through this. Brilliant. So again, the idea is please do take it as an exercise so that you really have an, okay, amazing. So if you look at here, this feature is alone at the current estimate is 10 to 14 days. So which is a flag. So we might, when we are working, we might see, okay, what MVP can we reduce? How do you reduce this time? And then like Suresh said, how can we work on a APK build and start the testing on the Google Play Store while we build and give more releases. These are something that we will talk in your one-to-ones, but amazing, lovely effort. And I can see one step closer, at least a mile closer to our reality coming into dreams. Okay, nice. Karak AI dealership, AI car search in seconds, brilliant. As a normal consumer, to find the car that I like in few minutes, but it takes me 2 weeks of search to find the preferred car. Okay, so that if there is an app that can help me find a car. Okay, so again, the idea is here, it should be the feature. AI search is your feature as a normal user so that you need not to log in. So it will be as a guest. You don't expect them to log in. So it's as a guest. I want to search. So how do you want to search here? Do you want to give them a voice command or search the car type? So it has to be that clarity, right? So brilliant. And then so that I get the list of cars, right? So based on where are you going to pull it from a database of Google scraping or API? How do you bring it? Acceptance criteria. It's just a list of cars which is shortlisted. Importance, according to yours, it is a AI dealership, so it's very high. Number of days, you need to check with the technical team and we can guide you. It's a type is almost like a booking flow or a searching flow. So you get it as a feature, it's becoming more clarity now, right? So I'm going to take a few more examples. Box, booking an awesome boxes. As a hungry user, I really like how you're defining the user. A good meal with a good discount. Okay, very straightforward. So as a hungry user, I want a good meal with a good discount. The idea is about being discount so that you get it delivered or you get an order placed, whatever you're gonna talk about, right? And then acceptance criteria. Brilliant. I love the way that how you all putting this up together. And I'm gonna see who else is working on. Okay, Arid. As a small business owner, to fill an RFQ from and submit to verified packaging supplier in one place, brilliant. I can receive and compare the quotes easily and fast. So here the idea will be when you're discussing the feature, how, right? I want to fill an RFQ form, submit it to verified packaging supplier in one place. so that now there are much suppliers, it's there, or do you find an online scraping of a supplier? And then acceptance criteria, all information in the form must be filled. User receives a confirmation. Supplier is notified successfully. Amazing. See, and it's a booking flow. Brilliant. And the importance is very high. Yes, Mira.
Hi Fawaz, how are you?
Very good, Mira. Tell me.
So my app is for deaf customers and it uses AI. So in the acceptance criteria, this is where I'm lost. And the estimate of number of days, like how do I know?
Exactly. So it's completely okay. You don't know the sum part. What you don't know is what we are very interested about, because then it allows you to have the thought process of how do we, like, is that feature realistic? Is that feature something that you can work beyond? So the number one on acceptance criteria, if you are doing an AI, right, AI research or AI search, whatever the functionality it is, the question is about how do you want to notify? Is it a list of the search? Or do you want the summary to be emailed, or do you want it to be shared with someone else? So likewise, what is that final acceptance criteria? The type also will allow you to say whether is it an authentication like an OTP or what, or is it just a flow, search flow, booking flow, payment, or what and what not. In terms of estimate, it's the realistic approach of how much of technology that you know to build that feature, right? Are we gonna go through a AI version coded? So like we said, we have upcoming few slides on the cheat codes. So you will see how can we achieve these things, right? But idea is we will discuss that on a one-to-one as well, going by features, quickly on the MVP features and understanding your technological background and also the tech stack you will be using. But brilliant question, Mira. Thank you. Amazing. Right. So in benefit of the greater time, I'm gonna look one for Mazado, listing and browsing and buyer. So let me enlarge that for you. Right. Okay. And okay. A buyer easily find itself items that I'm interested in purchasing based on my search criteria. So again, as a buyer, you also need to define the search criteria, and I can locate and buy items quickly without wasting time reviewing every thing. Easy filtering and sorting by category, location, price, date, by flow. Perfect. 3 days importance. Amazing, Mazado. Almost spot on. Right. So yeah, we'll be taking one more. I saw some questions. Just gonna take it up. Okay, check Leah AI. Okay, I saw that. Here we go. UAE resident verification. Okay, UAE pass. Female employee working in UAE. Create a verified wallet account from the comfort of home, wherever I am. I can receive access and send money. User should get an email, an SMS notification of its account created after the login app should be shown in the account and verified. An app should be able to feature available after eKYC, should reject the amount of invalid Emirate ID or expire ID. Authentication. Okay. This is basically you're talking about UAE Pass integration. Simple as that. And UAE Pass integration is a very straightforward API. As far as you have your database structure and your authentication is about to call the information and the tokenization which UAE Pass can do, which is very straightforward, and we should be able to work. Just giving you a heads up, Leah, I hope you have a UAE trade license, which has the trade activity filtered. If not, we might have to move it as a upload your Emirates ID or something, which is not advisable and which users won't like it. But that might be a feature we need to go if you do not have a trade license, which you can request UAE Pass API. So we work with UAE Pass, so which we understand they are very easy to work. But as far as you have a trade license, which a digital activity is mentioned in it, so we'll go in detail by that. Brilliant, amazing. So I thank you very much for almost everyone who has listed it, and I want few people who has not done to have a thought process around this, um, so that we go and beyond with these approaches. So this is a very quick exercise. What we can do about the UAE, like for example, the UAE pass and the other features and all the approaches we can do. Right, brilliant. So we're gonna just wrap like few things. Let's go next. And again, thank you very much for having participated in the activity. This is just to make yourself more comfortable. Shall we add the criteria like response time or TTRF at this stage? Mahdi, yes, definitely yes. Right, if you can. As I said, this user story is simplest in the form that it can go beyond. Right. So taking over from Suresh a little bit to co-combine and continue. It's not just about looking pretty, right? Let's make it very simple. It's also make sure your user interface looks in the colors, fonts, and icons, and you see both of it, right? And you might think, okay, it's an MVP. Let's make sure that we have a simplest form. And yes, sometimes it might not be even subjected to the validations or verification specifically from the Play Store or Apple Store as a permission, but to make sure the flow is making sense. If you see this, both of these bottle verses, right? Both has two different user case. The first one is, although it's plastic, it has its own convenience, which can come. The user experience can be better. The second one is greater and looking beautiful, but again, the user experience is about opening it up, pouring it, and all of it. So the idea behind is it's not about making it more colorful, it's more functional. But that's very, very important as a key feature and approach. Let's move, Minath. Let's keep moving. Right. So your mission for the week 1, your concept, we cannot wait 45 days to submit. You need to start. We're gonna do a couple of build. We're gonna apply, approve for the Play Store and App Store submission, which we're gonna discuss by deadlines in your one-to-one. And we submit a pilot build now so that you start the 14 days Google testing deck clock. So the idea is, as far as feasible, you can get a pilot deck. We would love to pilot build. We would love to start. Again, there is a workshop on that for Thursday to go in detail, which we'll come back to. And what is it? Simplified functional version of your app is more important so that you actually work it around. And the minimum functionality policy, it cannot crash. Google App Store is not gonna love you back if it crashes during the testing. It must have an interactive content, the buttons, data loads, and all of it. Screens. Right, as I think Suresh went on very well and brilliant with it. Absolutely, there is no way there's gonna be more coming soon. There can be approaches like it's gonna be launched in the next phase, coming back on it, working on it. No, none of that is possible. Right? These are not that it can
Whatever
be
the
worked
features,
in that element. Amazing.
whatever the
And
perfect
it
features you
creates
have
a
in hand,
placeholder on the store that will update later. Right? Amazing. Let's move. Next. Right. So very quickly, we're going to go on a quick wireframe demonstration. Suresh, let's make it fast and interactive. Over to you,
Sure.
Suresh, on a quick wireframe demonstration.
Sure. All right. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Suresh, absolutely.
Perfect. So we have actually given a very, very basic wireframe, which is designed with Figma. This is actually for a very basic legal application. For an example, for a client, for a user to look for a lawyer, and where the lawyers can manage the customers as well. It's a very basic application, right? So the moment that you all get this idea, so you all can use this really interactive tool called Figma to build something like this. So initially, the initial prototype doesn't have to have very complicated amount of styles or designs or something like that. It could be something like this. So later on, there are different ways you can speed up the development process, the actual UI. See, you can see for an example, in this sort of a UI, right? You can see the UIs are very plain, right? There's no complicated fonts, there's no much of complicated text or even much of styling, right? Because it's all about representing your idea in a form of a drawable sketch, right? Sometimes you don't even need to have this sort of shadows, and also it could be some sort of a wireframe UI. So once you come up with something like this, so Figma is a really great tool that you all can try to build something like this, and with all the features that you can demonstrate. And there's this thing called Figma community, right? So under the Figma community, there are a lot of interactive UI kits that you all can find out. For an example, certain UIs, for an example, if you take the material UI from Google, we don't have reinvent. because it's already built, right? So we don't have to build component by component, because if you go to the Figma community and search a material UI, there are a lot of UI kits that you can find out. For an example, if you take this particular UI, right? So you can see the interactive components, calendars, and every single component is there. So you can reuse these components, you can customize these components, styling and every single thing, and apply to your application and build a real world UI by using something like this. Let me show you some of the other UI kits as well. For an example, for iOS, if you search for iOS design, iOS UI, you can find the Apple friendly UIs as well. So in case if you want to design for iPads, iOS, and different iOS versions, they have given the perfect UI designs. So you can reuse any of these things and change their components and build the perfect UI in a way that it matches your application, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel once again. And also, one of the other things that I have mentioned is that Figma, we have something called prototype mode, right? So in case if you all want to demonstrate this sort of idea for an actual customer, for actual demonstrator or a participant, what you could do is basically you can use this prototype mode and you can have the interactions. For an example, what should happen once you click on the login button? It should go to this page. What should happen if you click on each item of this bottom navigation bar? So you can map all of these interactions by using Figma. So that is completely possible. You can make it like a real application which interacts with different other components. See, for an example, if you go to the play option, you can see how these components interact with each other. So you can actually click the buttons and see what loads next, and you can click on each component and see, okay, what should happen next. So every single interaction can be easily mapped out if you use something like Figma. So it's a completely free software that you all can try out. So they have the wireframe mapping option as well. So you all can try it out later. Right. So now let's quickly go through the rest of the content as well. So now we have the Figma in hand, we have the user stories in hand, we have the idea in hand. So it's complete. So now choosing the development track. I think we have a question from Muna. Hi, Muna. You have a question?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So my question was about the previous slide. I already have the prototype on base 44, and it's kind of serving the same purpose. Do I need to do the wireframes again? Or like...
No. So if you already had the POC, you don't need to do the wireframes once again. You can continue with whatever the application POC you have. So that's totally fine in that case.
Okay, thank you.
These were the fresh ideas. In case if someone is looking at mapping the UI and mapping the idea into a clear, readable picture, they could follow this.
Okay, great.
The best thing about Figma is that you can even generate the code out of the UIs as well. So because of that, with that ease, anyone could easily generate the UIs into codes as well. So the transition is very easy with the tools they have given with Figma.
Okay. Thank you so
All
much.
right. All right, no worries. Right, so let's move forward. So in terms of coding your application, we have 3 tracks to follow. We can, for an example, for someone who has less coding knowledge, they can go under the no code track. For an example, there are no code tools like Adalo, and there's something, and we have something called Firebase Studio right now. And also there are some other tools that a lot of people can use under the no code track. So Adalo is one of the greatest tools that you all can use to build drag and drop kind of applications. So it's actually good for content applications. For an example, it could be some sort of marketplaces, it could be some sort of directories, right? So with basic functionalities, you can easily get your application up and running by using Adalo. It won't require much technical expertise, just the sense of the application as well as just the sense of computer literacy is fine to build something with Adalo. The second option is called low code. For someone who has a little bit of programming knowledge, who can interact with some sort of data models as well as databases, I would recommend using something like Flutterflow would be a great choice. Also, if we talk about Firebase Studio, also we can use it as a low code solution where we can modify certain code snippets also. So even with Flutterflow, even if they give this sort of a UI designer, a front-end based designer, we can change the code and we can end our own interactions and we can build the perfect application with Flutterflow as well. Same goes to Firebase Studio also. And then we have the full code track. So under the full code track, we have different technologies. So that is where we play around with the production grade technologies. For an example, React Native, Flutter, that comes into the full code track. So for the ones who have programming expertise, for the ones who have already worked with these sort of development technologies, I would recommend you using something like React Native and Flutter. But in terms of the development timeline, it's going to take some time when compared to no code as well as low code, because it's going to be a full-on development, and that's going to involve concepts like backend, front end, and databases. So we'll talk about those concepts in the upcoming workshops as well. So that's going to be the high level structure basically when choosing the perfect developer methodology. So either no code, low code, or full code. So simply, this would require the coding capabilities as well to work on it, basically. Right. So let's talk about the checklist now we have in hand. So in terms of meeting the criteria to be in the 14-day roadmap, there are certain things we should look into, right? For your application to qualify to be publishable on Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, we had to think about all of these things. First thing is stability, right? We had to make sure your application won't crash, right? For an example, if that's the first impression you are giving, for an example, whenever you open the application, if it crashes, it's going to be straight away rejected. So we had to make sure there won't be any sort of crashes, because Google's review team and Apple's review team is going to check every single page of your application. So that's why I mentioned in the beginning, if there's 5 pages that are crashing at the end of the application, it's going to be a rejection. So we had to play a safe game, because we had to work with the time these days, right? So in that case, you had to make sure we ship the best features we have in hand, and we ship the most perfect features we have in hand in a way that we get the approval by the 45-day time period. Second thing is the interactivity. For an example, I have seen applications, some of the buttons are not clickable. Once you click on something, it won't respond, right? So that sort of issues we should really avoid. So we have to make sure your application is interactive, right? All the functionalities are visible, and there won't be any sort of disabled functionalities. So we should not have any sort of coming soon pages. For an example, let's say if you have future features that are supposed to be launched, so we should not have any sort of coming soon features as well. So all the functionalities that you publish has to be interactable. And content, right? For an example, there could be applications such as marketplaces, or there could be something like blog kind of applications, which has no sample data. That is also a big issue, right? So even though the functionalities are working perfectly, the interactiveness and every single thing is there, still the content factor is lacking. So Google team and the Apple team needs to see real content with the application to see what sort of content would you publish in the application, because they have a content policy as well. So if you go to Google Play Store publication policy, they have mentioned a content policy, what sort of applications that are allowed to be on Play Store and what sort of applications that are not allowed to be on Play Store. So we have to adhere to that. We have to make sure all the content are real content and there won't be any sort of dummy content. We have to make sure that you put the real content with the application. Next thing is the navigation. So we have to make sure all the sections of the application is accessible. There won't be any sort of disabled navigations. So we should be able to click every single section of the application and navigate to all the pages. See, sometimes you might build applications that would require extra permissions or payments to access several sections. So in that case, Google will reject those things. You know why? Google wants to see every single section. Even if you have a paid option of the application, you need to have a temporary enablement for Google team to see the locked features also, right? So there should not be any sort of locked where the Google team cannot check. So they should be able to check every single section of your application so that they can give the approval. So at least for the publication, you have to make sure you keep the features unlocked, and later on, you can implement certain mechanisms to make it lock. So that is going to be a possibility to get the initial approval. So branding is really important. So you have to come up with a unique logo as well as a unique application theme. So usually Google Play won't allow duplicate application names as well. If you try to publish an application which is already being used in the Play Store, they won't allow it basically. So you have to make sure you pick an application name which is very unique. So what you can do is basically you can just go to Play Store and search for the same application name and to see if it's already there on Play Store or not. If it's already there, don't go with that. Change the application name and go with a unique one, unique logos and branding. Make sure you all have the correct branding and application names are in place so that you can get the application published in the correct way. And also don't infringe any sort of trademark policies because they are very strict on the trademarks and copyrights as well. In case if there's any sort of a trademark policy violation, they would see they will reject your application. So we had to make sure into that as well. And so for the Flutter developers, you might have noticed they have something called beta text. For an example, it says development purpose or something like that. We should not have any sort of indication saying that our application is under development, right? So whatever goes on Play Store has to be production ready. Even if the architecture is not that great, that's totally fine. Whatever the feature that goes on Play Store has to be installable for actual user. So in that case, we should avoid things like it's under development, it's under testing or something like that. But we should make sure that the first impression that we give out of the application is production ready. So we'll have to make sure that we are addressing that also.
Amazing. Suresh, just gonna come up in benefit of time. So let's quickly run through a few questions. Very quickly, let me start from Taha. So the deadline to finish the building of the MVP is in a week for everyone. Yes, Taha. Yes, in terms of at least to submit a functional or a semi-functional build to start the testing, which we'll again talk about one-to-one. But do not worry, we wanted to get you in line with the time that you have an app in place. Khalid, if you can quickly make your question shorter. Just what's the question about?
Yes, Fawaz, I have a very small question. He talked about wireframes previously. Let's suppose we have in Flutter, we have a whole working front end application. You know, it's everything is working. So, do we need to make the wireframes again because it's a
No.
big application and everything is
No, no,
already there?
no. This is one of the way to do it. If you have thought about your workflow and it's integratable and it can be brought into the build, do not worry. Just that what when you get on one-to-one, the mentors will do is will be making sure this can be like this will go for an approval, right? To exhibit the experience. Do not worry.
That's great.
That will
Thank you
get
so
it.
much.
Sure. If it get rejected because of the name, does it have to go through the whole approval process again? Mona, see, first of all, what I would like to say is, even if you get rejected, that's a good thing because you have started the testing process, right? So some way, it's for me, it's a very good place to be in, right? Let it be whatever the reason. So you've started the cycle, and once there is a rejection coming, the rest of the approval is much more faster because when you fix that, right, when they have a reason why you got rejected and do it, so don't worry. It can rejected for multiple reasons, so name could be one of them, so don't worry about it. What if there is apps with the same name of my app but with the different services? Definitely, Suresh can also quickly add. There is no way that you can have same name exactly. There can be play arounds, workarounds. We have come up in the few past, but this is also comes back to your branding purpose. You don't want to compete with something which is already existing in the name, where all your free marketing might end up in somebody else downloading an app that they have created for something else. If your go-to-market strategy was so good, people are going to end up downloading something else. So just this reflects both the side for your growth, sustainability, and also to make yourself unique so that you don't compete at something which is in existence. Yes, Suresh, we'll just quickly get to the cheat codes if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, during the submission process, we have several stages to meet. One thing is that they would ask you to write some descriptions, especially for Play Store submission as well as the App Store submissions. So in that case, you don't have to do it manually. So right now we are living in the era of AI, so it's totally fine to use an AI tool to write the descriptions. Even for the content of your websites, totally fine. You can use ChatGPT or Gemini to um, generate this content. And also there's this concept called ASO, which is the App Store optimization, which is actually to optimize, to make sure your descriptions are optimizable, whether it is searchable, right? There's something called App Store optimization. For an example, just imagine you are searching for a given name of application on the Play Store, and you don't know the name, but you know the purpose, right? But in case if you search for the purpose, the application should appear as part of the search result. So how do they do that? It's called the optimization of App Store. So if you want to do that, the best option is to use an AI tool like Gemini and ask it to generate some sort of AS optimizable uh, descriptions. So in that way, you can make sure you will rank in the top result of the application. So that is there anyways. And for logo generations, you can use a tool like Midjourney or Canva AI to generate the logos because they're asking for a lot of logo variants from different sizes, maybe 512 to 256. To there are a lot of variants they're asking for. In case if you want to generate the different variants of logos, you can of course use something like Canva AI or Midjourney to generate your application logo to get a quick start. And finally, the dummy data. So like I mentioned before, right, we should not have any sort of test data, but we can have dummy data. For an example, just imagine you have a application that displays some sort of product reviews. And the review team wants to see what sort of reviews that there'll be, but they don't have an idea, right? Because initially you don't have any sort of a customer base. So you might be thinking, okay, how do you make sure there will be some sort of a similar data you would have, right? So you can generate this sort of dummy data, but make sure there won't be any sort of test data because there's a clear difference between dummy data and the test data. It's okay to have dummy data in the application, maybe fake reviews and fake brand descriptions, but don't have any sort of test information when you're submitting application into Play Store or the App Store.
Amazing. Thank you, Suresh. Right. So now let's get to the operation pilot drop, right? So ideally, within the one-to-one coaching, we really wanted to get to this in deeper. So think about three core stories, define the absolute minimum, storyboard the happy part, sketch the 3 or 5 screens on the paper, and see you if you have passed all these milestones, amazing, right? If you can integrate, get to the APK, build, we're gonna love it and push it further with you on one-to-one. But if not, if you're still iterating about these things, let's get that all finalized this week with the one-to-one. And if you have not created any a developer account, right? So create a developer account. Google Play Console is $25. And as Suresh said, you have an enterprise for Apple developer and all of it. I would really say because these developer accounts takes review and approval. So please go ahead, create it today. Whether it's going to be a personal or enterprise. If you have enterprise, go put your trade license. If you don't, please go and get a personal account done so that we don't fight it on the last minute. And build your pilot. Will customize the template with your data and with your concept. And if Create Apps Tech Team will provide you, if you achieve on time and as per milestone, we will get you the 20 testers to do the testing for you, which you will get to that stage on the second and the third week, upcoming weeks. We will be there with you. Brilliant. Yes, Suresh, we can move next.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So
So finally, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Key takeaways, guys, is an MVP focus on one core user problem, right? Make sure sometime you will have multiple stakeholders. Again, I'm going to park it to one because it's going to be specific and different with all of you. Simply a simple wireframe enough to plan the screens, clear priorities to the features overload to make sure that sometimes we all entrepreneurs, we love to like, idea is there, like we want to get everything done in the way that we want to do. Sometimes we're like, no, like my journey is not 45 days, my journey is 1 year, 6 months. We have all this debate in ourselves because we are perfectionists to solve the problem, right? But no, executionally, we wanted to get into a level where we get it executed in your 45 days first milestone. So this sprint will be a lifelong experience of how to get it done, anything. Early validation always saves time and effort. So don't wait till the timeline waits. Iterations and feedbacks are all what we have on-demand support. We are there for you. We'll be there for you to get this thing done. Suresh, we can move next. And I have few questions. Amira, what if the app's same name? Okay. And if my app is a marketplace with the users and vendors, do I need to have action vendors and the real users at the time of publishing of the app's chooser? Can app be published initially empty while waiting for the vendors and users? A very good question. This is something that Suresh has been iterating in terms of dummy data, in terms of not having a feature which is not completed. So ideally, if you have, it's not about having the real users, but it's about having the feature completed so that the merchants can register, registered approval can go in, and you can have the dummy data, not the test data. So you can create a couple of vendors, right? XYZ vendors, but it doesn't look like a test data. So you need not to go to market, because idea of App Store and Play Store is also very clear. You are not, it's an egg and chicken problem. When it's a marketplace, you need to have a user and supplier to perform. So it's the feature which matters, not your validations. Can we speak a bit about the track one no code development, how you can support? Yes, sir, I will take it on one-to-one. And I did see your question on the Lovable. So just to give a little bit of technological approach, this Lovable doesn't have a straightforward way to get you the build APK. You need to use a middle connector, connect it to the GitHub, and export it through a connector to have the APK build to be uploaded. The mentors is going to work with you directly, help you with that particular option based on how much have you put on Lovable. But please be conscious, if you are taking a no code option, that's gonna take some subscription efforts from you, like Lovable subscription and few other platform subscriptions, so that it achieves the end goal. And we'll talk about it. Do not worry. We are there to do it. Yes, Ehsan?
Yes, I just had a question. So, for the mentors program, I just want to ask, how do I get in contact again? Because I'm not sure how to find my mentor.
Ehsan, do not worry. This is. I mean, it's not you like your mentor circle. This is, you have a straightforward, dedicated mentor. We will define and decide it on your one-to-one based on what features and what technical supports you need. So please book your one-to-one. And I think there was a chat going on. Stay getting you an evening slot. We'll get that done, and your one-to-one will define the process, and we'll get the weekly time slot all confirmed. Do not worry. Right? It's not about having
Right.
different
Thank you.
mentors for validation. It's technical mentorship. All right. So we're going to go for the submission for this week. So team, you have submission unlocked for this week. As you said, wireframe and screen flow. As I said, it's not that you need to create. If you have created, we are more than happy. Just submit the link. And your MVP feature list version 1. So based on what we have discussed today, based on what you have submitted on the last week, if there's any rethought by and through the one-to-one, but we are going to discuss this on your one-to-one, right? So you have time till 13th Feb. And initial functional build, if applicable. So if available is something we really like, but if you are not available, we really want to know that you don't have the functional build available, so that we want to work towards that, assign milestones and deadlines for it, customize it for you. So let's make sure that you have thought through about this submission for this week. Play Store and App Store access, please create it. Put a screenshot of your App Store or a Play Store confirmation, so that we know that you have a Play Console or an App Store that we can do your wonders of magic. Execution of owner confirmation, which is you are the owner or you are the person who has created the App Store and all of it. This is just to make sure during the times of assigning the testing and all of it. So let me again reiterate. These submissions are not for evaluation, for your progress. I wanted to keep reiterating this. We are here to achieve the goals together with you. Suresh, next. All right. Before we go to the exit ticket, Suresh, you can stop sharing if you don't mind. Yes, Minat, if you could quickly share. I want to give you a quick iteration to log into your a system to look your mentoring support. Minat, get prepared. We're going to quickly show the way how to book your mentorship, because I see some questions going on to reiterate that we are on the same page. So hope you have the Create Apps accelerator.bncpublishing.net. You can access this link on your house page login as well. Once you log in, you get to this link. You have already got your email username and password. Put your email, your password, and log in. Brilliant. Brilliant. It's just a test user we're going to show you. Right. Go here, go click on mentoring. Then there you see. So you'll see you will not see the slots which is taken up, but you'll see some of the slots which is taken up. So please go ahead on the 10th and 11th, go ahead, book the time slots and make sure that we have the calls, right? So if you go up, there is something called preparation. Go up a minute, yeah. Review the MVP version scope. That is our session focus. Screen flow, readiness and publishing, and close testing. So every week we have a focus thing, and we will be immediately opening your Thursday slots also for this week, because some of you said you wanted a different time slots. So we will make sure that you have different time slots open, and you have a WhatsApp group right now. If you face any challenges on the time slots, we would love to make sure that you are accessible. There's no way we are missing your one-to-one this week. It's very mandatory, and we are going to do that. Yes, Minat, let's go back to the Canva. So amazing. So with that, let's get to the exit ticket of how we can do it and how this helped. So if there's any other questions, team, before we go to that, is there any other questions that you have?
Yes, is the prototype that we have submitted at the beginning of this Create Apps Championship, is it a prototype or is it considered no build?
Okay, just to validate this prototype, is it a code build you have submitted, or is it a wireframe?
I have used Figma to create like pages of the app, functional pages.
No, it won't be considered as a build. It's your wireframe and the user flow. You need to build the app in whatever the approach you're gonna build. Like Suresh said, no code, low code, or full code, and you need to develop that. And it has to be, if you're on iOS or Android, you need to be uploaded as an APK build so that your Google lifecycle starts. Right.
So
So
it's considered no build right now.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Amazing. All right, team, let's take a moment, scan the QR code, and we get on. And you're going to see myself, Suresh, and a few others on your one-to-one calls so that we guide you actually. All right, how do you feel to make the progress before the next session? Sure, unsure, right? Somewhat clear, ready to go, right? I would, and you can be very straightforward. Even if you are unsure, if you are somewhat clear, if you are ready to go, the Create App Tech Accelerator team gonna unconditionally support you to make your vision to come reality. It's just that transparency is our key, right? Right. So while we're doing this activity, I'm gonna also take up the questions with Taha regarding the evaluations of the F for semifinal. Is it after the 45 days, or is it going to happen same time as semifinal pitch? Carmen, you here? Oh,
Yes, I'm here. I'm always here.
I know.
Yes, so Tahad is two different things. So first, we're going into the accelerator program, okay? So this is where we are right now, and will take 45 days. After, when we finish the accelerator, we will go into the training. So the training of the pitch. So we will help you to redefine and define your slide, the deck that you will present on a stage, the pitch, how you will present, and it will be a fully different thing. So it's kind of like two different programs in the same journey, if that makes sense. So yeah, the semifinal it will be one thing, the semifinal day, and another thing is that the 45 days that will be before, because we already started. So the clock is already clicking or ticking.
Taha, basically what Carmen is saying is there's a cake and she's going to have more icing on the cake so that they're going to give you more training for pitch and all of it to make your journey beautiful and great in multiple stages. All right, let's move next to see how our exit ticket looks like. Right. I see 3.4 of unsure. Don't worry, we are there. Come and us, Accelerator team, Suresh. I mean, everybody's there for you. Somewhat clear, amazing. Let's exhibit that somewhat clear in your one-to-one call tomorrow and day after. And ready to go. Let's go publish, right? So let's have the timeline beaten. And amazing, all of you. So Hassan, is it in person? All of it's going to be on Google Meet, all your one-to-ones and mentorship call, Hassan. Your in-person will be post semifinals or while semifinals. Carmen will inform you further beautiful information
Exactly.
along the line.
So the accelerator program is fully remotely, is fully online for the training for on preparation for the semifinals. As you know, the semifinals it will be hybrid mode. Those teams who are based in the UAE will have to be in person. Those who are international based, they can do it remotely. And the same will happen with the rehearsals and one-to-one for the pitch training. Some will be in person, some will be remotely. So, Fawaz, you finish or?
One more. The next slide, I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. Sorry.
Minat, next. All right. So before that, so you have a certain milestone to do this week. And I know this week is going to be a little packed for all of you because we just started. Just the workshop 1 is over. Workshop 2 is on publishing guidelines, Android and iOS, more in depth. But to achieve that, please unlock the milestone this week and book your one-to-one. We'll be very comfortable and flexible, provided that we see your commitment of progress, each one of you at different stages. So these workshops are commonly done to give you that information to help you apart from your one-to-one. So please take your weekly milestone very serious. Even if you can't accomplish, communicate on that saying, okay, partially done, can do, doing it, having challenges, do it, all of that. So it's very important. And I said humbly, I would say, please go ahead, book your one-to-one. If you have any challenges, use your WhatsApp group for communication. We're going to help you to get your time slot done, but we can see more time slots open there. Go ahead and book it. Before me sign off, back to Carmen. Thank you very much, Suresh, and the entire Creative Accelerator team for enlightening the visions of making the sound reality to come true. And yes, Carmen, thank you. Over to you.
No, that's it. I just wanted to say thank you, all of you, for joining today. Thank you, Suresh, for the insightful session. I think that is brilliant. Kind of do a reverse back engineer, know what needs to be done to be live. So I think that it was very, very interesting. Thank you, Fawaz, always to support the teams. Again, here you have the link to, not the link to, sorry, the QR code in case that you didn't join yet the WhatsApp group. Also, you can reach out to us for questions regarding the competition to create apps at Dubai Chambers and Accelerator program for questions related to the Tech Accelerator. So just to wrap up, as what Fawaz already said, please don't miss the wonderful opportunity that you have of booking one-to-one with experts that they will be holding your hand, guiding you, supporting you, and advising you. So take advantage of that. Book your mandatory one-to-one sessions Tuesday and Wednesday, and Thursday we have workshop 2. So the accelerator is only 5 workshops. So, and we will have 2 this week. So please take advantage of all of that, and we'll see you on Thursday. Have a good week. Bye bye. Thank you.
Until next time, happy learning.